Welcome to the Inspiring Tech Leaders podcast with me, Dave Roberts. There's been some interesting developments at the recent Google I/O 2026 conference. Google has made it very clear that design is now a major AI focus for them. Not just graphic design, but the entire process of creating digital products, applications, interfaces, and user experiences. And Google is going all in. At this year's event, Google unveiled a wave of AI-powered creative and design tools, including major updates to Stitch, its AI-native design platform, and a brand new product called Pics, designed to bring AI generation visuals and layouts into the mainstream. The message from Google was unmistakable. AI is no longer just helping developers write code. It's now helping creators, designers, marketers, product managers, and even non-technical users build complete digital experiences from natural language prompts. And this matters because the companies that dominate AI-assisted design may ultimately control how the next generation of software is built. For the past decade, platforms like Figma, Adobe, and Canva have dominated digital design workflows. But AI is changing the speed of design dramatically. Google's Stitch platform sits right at the center of this transformation. Stitch is evolving into what Google calls an AI-native software design canvas, enabling users to create and iterate on high-fidelity interfaces using natural language. At I/O 2026, Google demonstrated how users could describe an application in plain English and have Stitch generate sophisticated interface concepts almost instantly. The tool can produce mobile and web interfaces, iterate designs through conversational feedback, and even integrate collaboration directly into the workflow. This is what many in Silicon Valley are now calling vibe design. Instead of painstakingly dragging interface elements around a canvas, users increasingly describe the experience they want. The AI interprets intent, creates layouts, suggests visual hierarchy, and generates usable outputs. Google is not simply building another design tool. It's attempting to connect design generation directly into its wider Gemini AI ecosystem. At I/O 2026, Google repeatedly positioned Gemini as the intelligence layer underpinning everything from search to workspace, Android, YouTube, and now design workflows. That ecosystem strategy could become enormously powerful. Imagine creating an app interface in Stitch, generating assets in Pics, using Gemini to write application logic, deploy through Google Cloud, integrating workspace collaboration, and distributing via Android, all within one connected AI environment. That's not just a product suite, that's an end-to-end AI operating system for creation. I recently read an article that described AI design tools as the next big battlefield, and rightly so. Google knows that whoever owns the AI-assisted creation layer could influence millions of future software products. What's especially interesting is that Google is moving into territory traditionally associated with creative professionals rather than engineers. For years, Google's strengths were search, infrastructure, and developer ecosystems, but now it wants to become a major creative platform as well. That explains the launch of Pics. Pics is designed as an AI-powered image generation and design platform for Google Workspace users. According to Google, it aims to make professional quality visual creation accessible to everyone, including teachers, marketers, and small business owners. And once again, accessibility is the key theme. The real disruption of AI isn't simply about productivity, it's about democratization. Tools like Stitch and Pics dramatically reduce the barriers to creating sophisticated digital experiences. This is enabling repetitive and production-heavy work to become automated, while strategic and creative decision-making becomes even more valuable. In design, that means human designers increasingly shift towards higher-level thinking, understanding customer psychology, defining experiences, shaping brand identity, solving business problems, and governing ethical AI outputs may become the most important skills. Because here's the truth, AI can generate interfaces, but it struggles with deep contextual understanding, emotional nuance, and strategic judgment. And this brings us to one of the most important leadership conversations emerging from the AI era. The future may not belong to people who can manually execute every task. It may belong to people who know how to orchestrate intelligent systems effectively. The most valuable professionals may increasingly be those who can direct AI creatively, validate outputs critically, and align technology with real-world human outcomes. Google's broader announcements at I/O reinforced this trend towards agentic AI systems. Google introduced Gemini Spark, an always-on AI assistant, capable of proactively helping users manage digital tasks and workflows. The phrase Agentic AI came up repeatedly throughout the conference, and this matters because design generation is only one part of a much larger vision. Google appears to be building AI systems that don't simply respond to prompts, but actively participate in ongoing workflows. That means future AI design tools may not just create mockups, they could analyze customer behavior, test usability, optimize conversion rates, adapt interfaces dynamically, and personalize experiences continuously. In other words, design itself could become increasingly autonomous. Now, whether that future excites or worries you probably depends on your perspective. For businesses, the opportunities are extraordinary. Product development cycles could shrink dramatically, prototype costs could collapse, innovation velocity could increase significantly. But there is also serious concerns. If AI-generated designs become widespread, we may see homogenization across digital experiences. When millions of people rely on similar foundation models, interfaces could begin to look and behave in similar ways, and creativity risks becoming statistically averaged. There are also ethical concerns around originality and intellectual property. If AI systems train on existing design patterns and creative assets, who owns the resulting outputs? How do we protect creative industries while still enabling innovation? And then there's trust. At I/O, Google showcased how deeply AI is integrated into Search, Gmail, Docs, Android, and Workspace. But as AI becomes increasingly embedded into productivity workflows, users may become heavily dependent on systems they don't fully understand. This is particularly important when AI begins shaping user experiences automatically. Who decides what the optimal interface is? What values are encoded into those decisions? How transparent are the algorithms influencing design outcomes? Researchers are already warning about the broader implications of AI-mediated design systems. Recent academic studies highlighted the importance of balancing efficiency with ethical reasoning, value alignment, and human judgment in AI-driven design processes. That's why leadership matters more than ever. Technology leaders cannot simply adopt AI tools blindly because competitors are doing so. They need governance frameworks, ethical standards, and strategic clarity. And perhaps most importantly, they need to rethink talent development. The next generation of digital professionals may require hybrid skill sets that blend creativity, systems thinking, prompt engineering, product strategy, and AI literacy. Traditional boundaries between designer, developer, and product manager may become increasingly blurred. At I/O 2026, Google also revealed AI Studio capabilities that allow users to build Android apps using natural language prompts. Think about the implications of combining that with Stitch. An entrepreneur could theoretically describe an app idea, generate the interface, create the codebase, design the visuals, test the experience, and deploy the application with minimal traditional development expertise. That's a radical shift in software economics. And it's why Google's moves at I/O were so significant. This wasn't just another developer conference. It was a declaration that AI native creation is becoming mainstream. Now, of course, Google is not alone in this race. OpenAI, Adobe, Canva, Microsoft, Figma, and countless startups are all competing to define the future of AI-assisted creativity. The market is becoming intensely competitive because everyone understands the same thing. Whoever controls AI creation tools gains enormous influence over the future digital economy. But Google brings something uniquely powerful to this competition: scale. The company already controls core infrastructure layers across search, mobile, operating systems, cloud platforms, productivity software, and developer ecosystems. That integration advantage could allow Google to distribute AI design capabilities faster than almost anyone else. And Google is investing aggressively to stay ahead. Reports suggest Google plans enormous capital expenditure to support its AI ambitions, reinforcing how strategically important the AI race has become. So where does this leave business leaders? First, I think leaders need to stop viewing AI purely as a productivity tool and start seeing the wider opportunities it can provide for reimagining the organizational design. Second, creative and technical functions are converging rapidly. Companies should encourage collaboration between designers, developers, and AI specialists rather than maintaining rigid silos. Third, experimentation is essential. Organizations that learn fastest will likely gain greatest advantage. And finally, leaders must focus on uniquely human capabilities. Creativity, empathy, strategic thinking, ethics, and communication are becoming even more important as automation accelerates. Because despite all the excitement around AI-generated interfaces and autonomous workflows, humans still define purpose. Humans still understand culture. Humans still decide what experiences should feel like. What Google showed at I/O 2026 is that we're entering a new phase of AI, one where creation itself becomes conversational, collaborative, and increasingly autonomous. The boundary between idea and execution is collapsing, and that changes everything. The companies that adapt successfully won't necessarily be the ones with the biggest technology budgets. They'll be the ones that learn how to combine human imagination with AI capability most effectively. Not simply who builds the best AI model, but who creates the best partnership between humans and intelligent systems. And judging by what we saw at Google I/O 2026, the future is arriving far faster than many organizations expected. It was also interesting to see Google talking about their new AI glasses, which, if you remember, I covered earlier in the year on this channel, and their release date is probably going to be later this year. Well, that's all for today. Thanks for tuning in to the Inspiring Tech Leaders podcast. If you've enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with your network. You can find more insights, show notes, and resources at www.inspiringtechleaders.com. Head over to the social media channels. You can find Inspiring Tech Leaders on X, Instagram, Inspo, and TikTok. And let me know your thoughts on how AI is influencing the design world. Thanks for listening, and until next time, stay curious, stay connected, and keep pushing the boundaries of what's possible in tech.